Ever do something like this to get signed up to a Bitcoin platform? Well, what if I told you that it actually could put you into some serious danger? Let's mine deep. KYC stands for Know Your Customer, a process that has existed in the physical world for decades, but is only now becoming a requirement for online services. Many states and countries have laws in place requiring Bitcoin exchanges and related platforms to collect info like your date of birth, passport, or driver's license in order to use their services. On the surface, it makes sense for businesses to collect this info, not only as a way to gatekeep their platform from potential criminals, but also to prove to law enforcement that in the event of a criminal activity slipping through regardless, that the business did everything possible to prevent such activity. However, KYC requirements can backfire badly. In 2019, Binance had a major breach where hackers stole passport images and other sensitive data and sold it for thousands of dollars on the dark web. BitMEX leaked customers' email addresses in 2020, exposing them to phishing attacks. Ledger, a hardware wallet maker, saw the personal info of 270,000 users leaked, including home addresses, an open invitation to thieves, which is especially concerning since most people keep their hardware wallets at home. It's like giving all your treasure maps to pirates and hoping they won't use them. Centralizing personal data creates a single point of failure, making it a prime target for cybercriminals. But more importantly, the promise of KYC preventing crime is often an illusion. In fact, the normalization of KYC has likely created more fraudulent activity instead of less. An investigation out of India found hundreds of thousands of people were fraudulently targeted from dark web leaked KYC databases. Scammers posed as customer support from things like a local bank branch, urgently asking victims to update their KYC info over the phone or their account risked being frozen. Using information from leaks as old as 10 years, these fraudsters socially engineered their way into obtaining login details and new personal information like passport numbers and addresses from victims. The systems used to verify KYC data can also be gamed as well. Criminals can use fake, stolen, or even AI-generated identities to bypass checks, leaving legitimate users vulnerable. In the end, KYC focuses on surveillance rather than true security, often exposing users to more risks than it mitigates. So why should you care? We are entering a world where it might be impossible to obtain Bitcoin soon without showing somebody your address, your passport number, your occupation, or heck, the name of who you lost your virginity to. Jokes aside, the slippery slope of constantly giving up more of our privacy is definitely not the world Satoshi envisioned for Bitcoin users. Not only is it annoying and clearly dangerous for customers, it's discriminatory as well to everyone that isn't fully documented, but just wants a vehicle to store their savings. If we don't pursue creating more opportunities to access Bitcoin without KYC, Bitcoin will lose a core principle of sound money, fungibility. Right now, the only no KYC option for most Americans to buy Bitcoin is via an ATM, mining, or a peer-to-peer marketplace. And doors to those are getting closed every day. If you don't want to see Bitcoin become another walled garden run by banksters and corporations, the first step is to learn these facts and start pushing back against those who are making KYC a requirement.
Don't miss Bruce Fenton backstage.
My name is Bruce Fenton. I'm CEO of Chainstone Labs. I've been in the Bitcoin and related industry space for 2013 or so 11 years now. And I host an event called the Satoshi Roundtable, and I also run a registered broker-dealer, SEC registered broker-dealer that focuses on advising people in things that intersect with this industry. I comply with what the laws are. There's extensive laws that require us to get all kinds of data. Personally, I wouldn't do that if it wasn't required. I think that each broker-dealer, each investment company, financial services company should have their own ability to do KYC to the degree that they want to. If it was up to me and I was designing a new company and I didn't have these onerous, totalitarian, authoritarian regulations to deal with, I would just have a freedom-based system and I would protect and our own risk management against any potential bad actors who might harm the firm. But money should be free ultimately. People should be able to move around their money, and if they commit crimes, that should be separate, just like it's separate from their clothes or cars. We wouldn't support a rule that says that we should track people's shoes, even though tracking shoes would potentially help us. It would be easier to catch criminals. But it's just not the right of government to track people's shoes, just like it's not the right of government to track where their cars go. And it's not the right of government to track where their money goes either. It's just not their business. Everybody should be able to trade voluntarily, just as like all our ancestors have done for thousands of years. Trade is a backbone of civilization. Trading goods and services to each other is a cornerstone of all economic activity in human history. And for vast majority of human history, this has been permissionless. You didn't go to a blacksmith or trade spices on the Silk Road, the original Silk Road, without with some sort of requirement that made you get their identity. It's considered nobody's business. So I think our founding fathers would say, wow, that's not your business. It's not your business. They didn't even have social security numbers, but I don't think they ever had somebody ask their date of birth or their name or something like that, unless it was for delivery or some relevant reason. I don't think that they would have appreciated this at all, and I think they would have totally rejected it. I think that this entire failed experiment should be totally jettisoned. I'm in favor of completely scrapping all KYC AML rules. And I've said that many times for many, many years. Now it's seen as less crazy than it was. When I used to say that in public groups 10 years and especially 20 years ago, people would say, oh my gosh, you can't do that, as if it's some sort of cornerstone of global economics, and it's not. It's not. It's a very new and very bad idea. In my career, only 30 years ago when I started my career, you could open an account at a brokerage firm without any identification, without any social security number, and you didn't even need to pay for a week. And now we contrast that with the way that it is today. This is a very new and very bad idea. And unfortunately, 30 years is not that long in economic history or human history, but it's long enough that an entire generation of people just thinks that this is the way it's always been, that the way it's always should be. Everybody who is younger than me, because it was kind of phasing out right as I started my career. So anybody younger than me, which is more and more people every day working in finance, they've seen this as if it's some sort of birthright of government. Like it's a given. Like, oh, of course we need KYC AML. And I challenge that entire premise. I go back to the people that created this, really only 30, 40 years ago, and say, no, the entire idea was wrong. It was immoral, it was wrong, it should have never been done, and it shouldn't exist now. So what I would advocate policy-wise is scrapping the entire thing. And I think that will happen eventually, because it's totally unworkable, and it adds a lot of friction, and it gums up the works, and makes voluntary trade not work as well. And there isn't really any evidence that it has stopped crime or decreased crime or helped people catch legitimate criminals anyway. In fact, there's a lot of crimes that are just related to paperwork crimes. Think of the millions and millions of people and billions of hours that's spent on this instead of catching actual criminals. I would say that if you had all of these federal agents who are chasing AML KYC crimes and you put them on chasing actual human traffickers, kidnappers, murderers, people who commit assaults, these kind of things, I think that would be a much more effective use of their time and would improve the lives of a lot of people and free up people to do trade, which is something that's a birthright of everybody, and it should be free.